Good morning to you, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your hurricane outlook and discussion, continuing to cover, obviously, Hurricane Joaquin, a visible satellite loop this morning showing the continuation of the battering of the Bahamas down here. Very, very bad situation for the central Bahamas, where this just ravaged the area for more than 24 hours. Hurricane force winds, in some cases Category 2, Category 3 hurricane winds. Very ugly, to say the least. Lots of flooding, very heavy rainfall. Damage to infrastructure, I'm sure, is widespread across this region. And looking at the Bahamas map, currently, the eye and the eye wall, etc., it's less defined. We'll go back and look at the satellite picture in a moment, but Rum Cay, San Salvador area, and then eventually Cat Island. Looks like Cat Island will be on the west side of this eye wall, what's left of it down here. Probably some upwelling going on. That is to say that the hurricane sitting over the same general area for such a long time, relatively speaking, has churned up the water underneath itself, and despite the area of fairly high ocean heat content, you can only sit over an area so long if you're a hurricane without beginning to self-destruct. But you notice the outflow is still very impressive, and once this starts to move a little bit more rapidly and then make that turn, the much anticipated and talked about turn, it'll probably strengthen again, because it'll get over water that has not been disturbed by a Category 4 hurricane for many, many hours. So down here again in the Bahamas, Long Island, Rum Cay, San Salvador, and to some extent Cat Island, this region still being battered and has a little ways to go before the track eventually gets this out of the Bahamas and then starts that turn off to the north and north-northeast. With time, we can see that on the map here. It should start pretty much any time here over the next 24 hours and then move on out into the Atlantic, well away from the United States. Hard to believe that just a couple of days ago the track came up and then bent into the United States like this, and now it's going to end up bending well away. The 4-day position, just for what it's worth, just a couple of days ago was right here, and it'll end up being quite a ways offshore when all is said and done. Actually probably down here, because remember, it looked like it was going to come in to the Outer Banks of North Carolina and into Virginia Saturday night into Sunday. So the track error distance between the 4-day forecast, which was here, and where it actually will be Sunday morning, several hundred miles away. So not good. And that just goes to show you that even track forecasting, as accurate as it has become over the last decade especially, there is still room for improvement. And I think this graphic here pretty much seals the deal for no impact on the United States directly from the hurricane itself, i.e. no storm surge per se. There will be a wave run up though from the swells, and there won't be any wind directly associated with Joaquin. This is the GFS ensembles, all 20 members, the operational included in that. Takes it out to sea, well away from the United States. Even the Canadian Maritimes probably looking very good in this scenario in terms of direct impacts. We'll have to see what happens with Bermuda. That could be the only fly in the ointment, so to speak, after the Bahamas, of course, in terms of impact. So we'll watch and see what happens over the next 24 hours. If the models keep it north of Bermuda, that would be just great for that location, because they had 2 hurricanes last year, and certainly don't want to add a 3rd one this year. So the big story along the U.S. coast, the mid-Atlantic states and parts of the southeast, will be this incredible flood threat that is setting up across the region. And you can see on the Weather Service map here, very heavy rainfall in eastern North Carolina, and then that general light rain stretches all the way up into the mid-Atlantic states. I want to go back to my folder here, if it'll load for me, because I want to show you this particular map. Let's see if it's in here. I don't know why everything's running so slow. It's annoying. So here's the actual surface map. This is what I wanted to show you. Why are we having this event The hurricane is down here, and it's not directly involved, and again, it's going to move out and away. So what's causing all this misery along the coast here? Well, we have this stalled front and a weak low pressure area at the surface, and then this upper level energy coming in, and that's combining with very deep tropical moisture being pulled out of this warm water source of the southwest Atlantic. And the result, you can see that on the water vapor imagery, is this incredible influx of moisture, this diffluent flow aloft where the air is spreading out, going to allow for the dynamics to be in place for a potentially record-setting and life-threatening flood event for parts of the Carolinas, and then even up into the Appalachians to some extent. And added to all of that, very strong high pressure up in this region, combination of the low pressure of Joaquin plus the weak low at the surface down here off the coast of Florida will combine to create this strong onshore fetch of northeasterly winds, kind of like a nor'easter would be, and that's going to pile up the water along the coast here, creating more beach erosion, more high tide flooding, and just misery this weekend. There's no other way to, I mean, you got to pretty much get a book, something thick, or a trilogy of books, and just catch up on your reading or do some Netflix binge watching of something, because it's going to be rather nasty this weekend. And then down here in South Carolina especially, from what I've been reading, the potential for very, very high flood risk in this area. In some cases, a foot of rain or more, and in a metro area such as the Charleston region and the surrounding areas along interstate, sometimes it seems like it, Highway 17, U.S. Coastal Highway 17, we're talking Charleston, Georgetown up to Moncks Corner region, basically what they call the low country, is going to be under the gun for some very serious flooding. The Southeast River Forecast System gauges, only a few of them, 7 of them indicate minor flooding right now. I expect that to change significantly over the next 48 to 72 hours, mainly across this region, and then certainly up here in North Carolina as well. Hopefully, the extent of the very heavy rain into the Piedmont and the southern Appalachians will be less, but it's hard to say. The most recent discussion that I saw was indicating that the heaviest of the rain should be around this region right here, from the Midlands of South Carolina, call it Columbia to Orangeburg down to Charleston. So, you got to just be careful out there. Don't do anything dumb. Please don't drive through flood water, especially if you think, oh, I know this area. If it's absolutely standing still, people are going to want to drive across it. If it's moving at all, absolutely not. I mean, it's just a big no-no, especially if you got kids with you. If you can see the paint on the road, if you're driving into the area and you can see the yellow lines of the center line of the road, well, that's one thing. The water's 3 or 4 inches deep, but beyond 6 inches, forget it. Just don't do it. Be safe out there. Now, our coverage, speaking of being safe, we have a big task ahead of us here at Hurricane Track. We want to cover the event. It's obviously not a hurricane, but it's a high-impact weather event. So we're going to put some of our tools that we use to cover hurricanes into use. We're going to set up a weather station, which will give us wind and pressure and a live picture along the Outer Banks in Rodanthe. We're going to do that later today. We're going to set up a live streaming cam in Kitty Hawk, hopefully, if the conditions allow, to show what's going on along the Outer Banks from a live video perspective and a vulnerable section of the beach road there. Then we will head south down the, I said it again, I-17, the US 17 corridor to Charleston and vicinity in South Carolina, and try to figure out, starting late tonight, early tomorrow, where we can put some more of these unmanned cameras to monitor the potential flood situation. And then my colleague Carrie and I will, stake out a place, high ground at a hotel somewhere, hopefully away from all this flooding, and monitor everything and keep posting updates. So I'll have video blogs that I can post, basically like a video update, anywhere we are, which will go into our app, and onto our YouTube channel pretty much simultaneously. But they are available in our app. It's called Hurricane Impact. And so anytime I do a video update, 30 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever, it goes right into the app within just a couple of minutes. It's really nice. And then you can monitor the weather data from the Outer Banks, and any social media feeds that we post also go into the app. So we're going to put a big effort into this to try to cover this event as if it were a hurricane, which helps us to bring you pertinent information, but it also keeps us practicing, if you will, testing equipment, making sure everything should work as it is designed to. And then, eventually we're not going to have the luck that we had with Joaquin, and it is going to hit something of its magnitude, and we got to make sure we're ready. So this gives us an opportunity to stay on our toes and make sure we are ready for when the track is not aimed away from the United States. And it's just a matter of time. Maybe even still this year. You never know. It's only the first couple of days of October. We have a long way to go. All right, well, that's it for me for this morning and the last of the updates of this nature. Anything else I post will be from the road, and I hope you'll join us live from our vehicle cam, as well as checking out any video posts that I do on YouTube and, of course, in our app. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks for tuning in as always, and we'll see you from the road.